Hello everyone, my name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute. Thanks so much for joining me for Preston's Ponderings. We're in the midst of a major study of Matthew 16, 27 and 28, where our Lord said, "The Son of Man will come in the glory of the Father with his angels, and shall reward every man as according to his works. Verily I say unto you, there are some standing here which shall not taste of death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom with power and great glory." As we've shared with you, it's very, very popular in evangelical circles to try to make verse 27 the end of the Christian age or the beginning of the millennium or the great white throne judgment or something like that, while verse 28 is the day of Pentecost or the beginning of the millennium. In other words, the point being, great effort is made to divide verse 27 from verse 28. But you know, one of the simplest ways to counter that is to simply look at the language. Now, I've already demonstrated that verse 28 begins with a little Greek term, amin lego humin, which is used several times in the New Testament, is never used to break a subject, to introduce a new subject. It is always given to call attention to what's about to be said, and what is about to be said is going to emphasize what's already been said. Well, another way to demonstrate the unity of these verses, again, is to look at what Jesus actually predicted. Notice, the Son of Man will come in the glory of the Father. Verse 28, the Son of Man will come in great glory and power in the kingdom. Now, this is going to be very brief, but I want to call your attention to two parallel passages. Number one, Matthew chapter 20, verse 21, and the parallel passage in Mark chapter 10, verse 37. On this occasion, the mother of the two sons of Zebedee came to Jesus with a request. Now remember, same circumstance, all right? The mother came to Jesus and said, "I have a request." Jesus said, "What is your wish?" In Matthew's account, it says this, "Say that these two sons of mine are to sit, one at your right hand, the other at your left." Now watch this, "in your kingdom." Now that reminds us, therefore, Matthew 16:28, the Son of Man will come with power and great glory in the kingdom. Okay? But now watch the parallel passage. In Mark chapter 10, 37, we find these words. "Grant us," the two sons are now depicted as saying, "grant us to sit, one at your right hand, the other at the left, when you come in your glory." Now, do you notice the exact parallel nature, but the slightly different use of terms? In Matthew, grant that these two sons would sit one at your left hand, one at your right, in the kingdom. Mark, grant that these two sons sit one at the left hand, one at the right, when you come in your glory. In other words, the coming of Christ in power and great glory is the coming of Christ in glory of verse 27. Where's the difference between the power and great glory of Matthew 16:28 and the coming of Christ in glory in verse 27? You see, the coming of Christ in power and great glory is the coming of Christ in judgment of verse 27. The coming of Christ in glory is the coming of the kingdom at verse 28. The parallel passages of Matthew chapter 20, verse 21, and Mark chapter 10, verse 37. Grant that these would sit one at your right hand, one at your left when you come in your kingdom. Grant that one sit at your right hand, one at the left when you come in your glory. Proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that since Matthew 16:27 is the coming of Christ in glory, verse 28 is the coming of Christ in glory in the kingdom, that Matthew 16:27 and 28 cannot be divided. And that means that the coming of Christ in the kingdom, in power and great glory, is the coming of Christ in judgment of Matthew verse 27, and that means Christ was coming in judgment to reward every man in that generation. We'll have more to say on this on the flip side. Thanks for joining me for Preston's Ponderings.